Are you tired of looking at Ridley? Then stop looking. Start listening. He can't annoy your eye if he only reaches your ear. The way out is clear. It's the Ridley Report audio podcast. RidleyReport.podomatic.com. More anecdotal evidence indicating a boycott success. First, these pictures from Manchester, New Hampshire's almost deserted-looking airport. The day before Thanksgiving is traditionally a lot busier than most. It isn't supposed to look like a ghost town. Here are some observations from Russell Canning, an opponent of intrusive new U.S. security at airports. He says, quote, "We visited Manchester Airport today to hold signs. A good group of freedom activists were there, including one of the latest TSA victims, Meg." He's referring to Meg McLean. "A few guys got good photos and video. WMUR was filming often. The parking prices are high now. I guess next time I go hassle the feds there, I will have to go by bus, or we could drive people there from a nearby parking lot. They gave us paperwork saying we couldn't do what we were doing. It didn't seem to matter, though. We each had a few good and bad interactions. Cat and I had our picture taken with a Southwest Air pilot by his pilot buddy. He thanked us for what we were doing. The NH Info people said it was quieter than normal. It seemed pretty quiet to me. There were a lot of government employees, though, many suits running around. Airport security and Londonderry cops, besides all the TSA people." Unquote. A different kind of success at Denver International Airport, shown here in file video. Nick Ortiz Trammell writes, "A couple of guys in nothing but their underwear were walking through, with a camera interviewing passengers and asking their opinions on the porno scanners and molestations. It got the entire PR and law enforcement system up in arms, but they couldn't shut them down. We also put tons of copies of the Constitution into the hands of many TSA officers. Overall, it was quite a success, with well over 90% of the people in support of our activities." Unquote. One thought I had was that, going back to the issue of boycotts, it seemed like this protest was organized so recently that most people would have already bought their tickets. It will probably take time to get people to boycott on a larger scale, because there's usually that 1 month or at least 1 week window where people will try to buy their tickets in advance. By the time this opt-out protest got going, most folks probably already had their tickets. A couple of writers on the We Won't Fly Facebook page have proposed a couple new names for the TSA. Touching sensitive areas is one of them, and the other is gate rapers. Something else to mention, although I don't think the protests around the country were all that large, this is probably the first time, it's the first time I can think of, that protests around the country have been organized simultaneously against the TSA. That by itself is a milestone of some significance, and of course we're also getting a lot of reports that the TSA did back off on November 24th and lay off the invasive pat-downs and radiation. They will of course be back, but we should savor each victory as we get it. By the way, a piece of news that is slightly off topic, but I think pretty important. The man who shot this video is now the target of a censorship attempt.
Video also to be available at the previously referenced blog.
The videographer, popularly known as Biker Bill, recently shot 2 videos that chronicle a federal crackdown on sidewalk chalkers. The YouTube message, which he forwarded to me, informs him that he received a privacy complaint from an individual regarding his content. Now, I guess the question would be, did federal authorities file the complaint? Is the government trying to censor images of its own personnel operating out in the open? The section of the video in question shows a federal enforcer politely conversing with activists on the day of the arrests for chalking anti-federal slogans on federal property. If you want to see the endangered videos in their entirety, look at the video description for this clip. I'll link to them. This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by RidleyReport.podomatic.com.